Webinar, Identity Crisis, Adding Lifestyle Solutions to Your Life Safety Business, the first in the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group's quarterly 3-2-1 learning series. My name is Garrett Bruce. I'm chair of the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. A few quick housekeeping notes before we get started. Number one, if you haven't already, take a few minutes and register for the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group at esaweb.org. And while you're at it, join us on Facebook and our official LinkedIn group page for an easy way to keep up with current issues and topics that sales and marketing pros face every day in our industry. Also, during the webinar, all attendees will be muted. However, we certainly encourage questions. Please utilize the chat feature, and we'll be sure to present your question to the group at the conclusion of the presentation. Today's topic, Identity Crisis, Adding Lifestyle Solutions to Your Life Safety Business, is all about making the jump and adopting advanced services like home control and energy management. As dealers and integrators adopt these services, many find that they're faced with the challenge of adapting their brand messaging, marketing strategy, and sales processes in order to effectively position themselves in the market. So we're pleased to be joined today by Joe Mitton, Marketing Director for Select Security based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. As the Marketing Director for Select, Joe has completed an overhaul of the company's website, spearheaded the launch of several new products, and retooled all of the sales and marketing literature. He's also responsible for compiling a comprehensive action plan to monitor, analyze, and build web traffic to the company's website to deliver additional sales and minimize costs. Select is one of many companies who have successfully transitioned from a traditional security dealer to a provider of both life safety and lifestyle solutions. So on behalf of the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group, I'd like to welcome and thank Joe for joining us today. And at this point, I'll turn the presentation over to you.
All right. Thanks, Garrett. The purpose of this webinar is just to talk about the changes that are happening in the industry and how you can position your company to be ahead of the curve. Your identity, it can be one of your strongest assets, or it can also be one of your greatest liabilities. Who you are, it's always changing, and what you see in the mirror is not always how others see you. Your identity tells people who you are, what you do, and what you stand for. There are thousands of companies that wouldn't mind taking your prospects and your customers, and your identity is one of the key things that prevents this from happening. It can help you get new customers, keep your existing customers, and it can help you stand out in the crowded marketplace. And that's why it's so important to understand who you are and how others are seeing you. Let's start off with an example that I think really shows the importance of branding and your company image. I'm sure everyone has heard of the Apple Computer Company. I'm kind of an artistic person, so I've had lots of experience using Apple computers. I remember I got my first one in 1985. It was very simple, black and white monitor, didn't do much compared to the computers today. But while I've had a lot of experience using Macs, there are a lot of people that haven't. In fact, unless you're an artist, an art student, or a snob, you've probably never owned an Apple computer. As recently as 2001, the company's future looked highly uncertain. It was in the business of selling computer hardware and software, but it wasn't very competitive. It had a higher price point and, frankly, a lack of options. And they were on the brink of bankruptcy in 1997 when their biggest competitor, Microsoft, invested a huge chunk of change, $150 million, to keep them afloat. And back then, January 2001, their stock price was $14. But if you compare it to today, their stock price is resting around $560. That's a huge jump from $14, and I really wish I'd invested in Apple back then. But today they make their money, and this is why they're so successful. They make their money as a communications company. They saw an opening in the marketplace for consumer electronics that work together, and they went from being a computer company to becoming the source for the electronics and the content that people want. They still make computer hardware and software, but it's frankly not what the people are buying. People are buying their products for the entertainment value rather than the utility that computers are normally bought for. In fact, they sell so little computer stuff nowadays that they officially removed the name computer from their company name in 2007, which, if you think about it, was just 10 years from when they were on the brink of bankruptcy. And where's Microsoft today, their savior? They're struggling with their identity. They continually commit millions of dollars towards the same types of products that Apple does, but they just don't have the image to back it up. If you compare the iPod to Microsoft's Zune, they were both solid products, but no one really took it seriously because it was from Microsoft. So the question is, who would you rather be? Do you want to be Apple, or would you like to be Microsoft? And don't get me wrong, Microsoft is still a very rich and very powerful company, but if you compare the two, I'm sure everyone would agree that the one with the brightest future right now is Apple, because they're being proactive with their products and with their image. Each one of you is facing the same questions that Apple faced 11 years ago. Frankly, entry into the security field is easier than ever before. Thanks to the rapid pace of innovation, other service companies are branching out and they're offering security services. With the wireless modules, the lick it and stick it installations, and the plug-and-play programming, it's all lowered the technological know-how that's needed to perform a basic home installation. In fact, I kind of laugh because the installation techs that I work with once told me that they thought it was so easy that they thought I could do my own system, which was a little offensive and hurt my feelings, but you know, it's kind of true. And you know that if I can perform that sort of setup and installation, your local cable companies' trained technicians are surely going to be able to do the same thing. And I'm not saying that these basic installs are perfect or good in every situation, but the point I'm making is that when something becomes simple, people are going to start questioning why they should pay you a premium. And if you want to install these types of systems, you'll need to give them a reason. The face of security is starting to take this shape. And again, this is not the face that we talk about when we're talking about commercial accounts and there's big industrial projects. Those require a different image and a different thought process. But for the homeowners, you know, they're used to price shopping, comparing products and companies, finding the best deal. And now that we as the security industry are able to offer integrated services, there are two main facets to what we do. There's the traditional protection services, and I like to call these the I got your back services because it's essentially all about safety and security, and it's what we do. You know, if something should go wrong, you're in danger, we're going to let you know, and we're going to let others know. This includes like the burglar alarm, fire and smoke detection, cameras, door locks, and right now your image is probably focused around this. This is what we've done for years. This is what we're the experts at. We protect people. But increasingly, we're also offering the new services that fall under the lifestyle services category. This includes giving people the ability to check on their homes remotely, monitor their security systems and cameras, control their thermostat, lights, window shades, appliances, door locks, blah, 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 blah. And as I'm sure you're finding out, once a customer gets used to using these features, they don't want to let it go. The stickiness of these features are just amazing. It's incredible. So why is it important to offer lifestyle services? It's because people really don't like that they need our services. While they certainly appreciate what we do, it also reminds them that the world isn't perfect. It's not safe, and that's not a pleasant feeling. Buying a security system is a necessary expense, and it's not enjoyable. But by adding the lifestyle services, this transforms us from a need into a want, and it gives people the feeling that they're getting something extra from their security company. And as the big media companies are finding out, when you bundle services that people want, they pay for services that they don't necessarily want. I currently pay $100 a month for my satellite TV, my phone, my internet. It comes as a bundle. I only want 2 of those. I don't want the home phone service, but I have to pay for it because the telephone company won't let me buy the other 2 separately. I wouldn't mind switching my satellite provider and my internet, but I can't because I'm roped in with this bundle. And it used to be that the phone company didn't have to worry about losing me as a customer. When they're the only game in town and I wanted to make a phone call, I didn't have a choice. But now I can get my telephone service from the cable company or several other voice over internet options. So to avoid losing me, the telephone company had to change their products and their image to reflect themselves as a more multi-channel content delivery network. And frankly, they really didn't have a choice. They had to do this because they were facing new competition. So what about you? Is your competition changing? Perhaps it isn't the local company anymore that's right down the street. They're always going to be there. You probably know them by names. You may or may not be friends with them. And how do you compete with them? It's with your personal relationships in the community and the reputation that you've built. But you're also increasingly going to face competition from those big giant corporations that are not local. And how are you going to fight them? If you think about it, Verizon has 14 million fiber connections running into homes. AT&T is rolling out a plan to sell security systems from its hundreds of wireless phone stores. And Comcast has more than 23 million customers that are already using their services that they can market to easily. And while we have yet to see any of these pushes into the security marketplace successful, these companies now have a better shot of making it work than any other time in the past. And yeah, none of these companies have a stellar reputation. In fact, Comcast is consistently ranked as having one of the worst customer service departments in the country. But combined, they have millions and millions of customers and a large bankroll that they can play with. So the next few years are certainly going to be interesting for us. But back to the topic at hand. You understand why things are changing in the marketplace, your competition, your product lines are changing. How do you go about changing your image to reflect yourself as a life services company? Change always starts at the top, and change makes people uncomfortable. And if you think about this, if you ever want to make a bunch of executives cringe, just walk into the boardroom and say, we need to change. It really doesn't matter what needs to change. It doesn't matter why. People just don't like change. So you have to ask yourself if you're willing to make the change. Do you want to stay static? And maybe you do. If you have a good thing going, staying static is not necessarily a bad thing. Change is not always needed, but you'll be making a big mistake if you don't at least consider it. Change requires a lot of effort. It also takes time and dedication, and it's going to force you to take a serious look at your company and make some decisions regarding your operations and your staff. So now that we've talked about change, let's discuss what it is we're changing. The branding is what makes you you. It's the wrapping and the packaging that customers see when they're shopping. The most effective brand is a reflection of what your company is and what you do. For example, remember Apple's brand? They went from a computer company to an electronics and media provider. Their new brand works because they're really strong in those areas. But a lot of times, when a brand change goes wrong, the biggest problem is that the new brand doesn't fit with the products and services that are being offered. Customers are going to notice the disconnect, and you will become a joke to them. For example, Comcast, like I said, is consistently rated as having the worst customer service of all the major companies in the country. And they have that reputation. But several years ago, I saw a commercial that talked about their friendly and pleasant employees. And it still makes me laugh. And every time I heard the commercial, it just reinforced the disconnect between the reality and the image that Comcast was trying to portray. In my mind, they became a joke. So before you go changing your brand, understand what it is that your company stands for and what makes you different to your competition. And one of the best places to start evaluating your current image is to start with those who know you best. Start off by surveying your staff. Maybe you'll have a big meeting or bring it up at your next company event. Social events like these often have a relaxed atmosphere that can lead to honest discussions with your employees, and it gives you the chance to see your company in a fresh perspective from their eyes. And at the same time, ask how your customers see you. People like to give their opinions, and they like to be asked for their opinions, and chances are you're going to get an accurate snapshot of your brand and image. Some of the questions you'll want to ask are the usual. What do they think your strengths are? What do they see as your weak spots? Compare that feedback to your image of your company and see how they match up. With this information, you'll be able to see if you need to make changes and how big those changes are going to be. Depending on your business, you might not have to make any changes. If you've been offering the life services for a while and you've been successful, chances are you won't be facing a big change if you have to change at all. But if you're more of a traditional company looking to break into the life services for the first time, I think you're going to have more of a difficult time, but it certainly isn't impossible. And you might find it to be refreshing to your businesses and your employees. If you're wanting to change your image, you'll want to consider if you're personally ready to make the change. Changing your brand requires you to jump in with both feet. Doing it halfway is not going to work, and you're just setting yourself up for failure. At the same time, you want to ask yourself if your staff is ready for the change. Now, I can't hear any of you, but I suspect that half of you are laughing and the other half are smirking, because there's always people who are resistant to change, and often they're not afraid to let their opinions be known. Just remember that no one likes change, but if you take the time to prepare yourself and your employees, you're going to make things much easier. Set up a staff meeting and communicate with your employees the reasons you think the change needs to happen. If you prepare in advance for questions, you'll have a better chance at heading off those concerns. And you'll probably hear questions like, we've done this way for years. Why should we change now? And who are you to tell me I'm doing my job wrong? Or how am I going to explain this to our current customers? You don't have to spearhead the change alone. Create a change team and enlist those who you think are deliberate, careful thinkers and open to new things. You certainly don't want one of those people who's resistant to change on your team. When you can, make a gradual plan for change and stick with it. Don't feel like you have to make all these big changes at once. And manage resistance if you get any static. Usually this can be done with training. But above all, be a role model. If you lead others through example, eventually everyone else is going to follow. And once you have your new image in place internally, it's time to start showing it off to the world. A good place to start would be on your website. If you think about it, lifestyle services are most attractive to the technologically savvy people. These people are more likely to get their initial impression of you from your website. And because changes to your website can be made relatively easily, this would be the perfect place to test drive your new image. When you do, go beyond the traditional security website by using the hot keywords that reflect the new you. Use lots of descriptive words like convenient, high-tech, next generation, as well as the keywords home automation, remote management, all those that describe your services. And match the images on your website to fit your new image. Show families who are enjoying and benefiting from your product away from the home. They could be remotely checking video of the kids as they come home from school, turning on and off the lights while they go on vacation at the beach. Things like this showcase just how easy it is that you're going to make their life as a life services provider. And just because you're not as focused on showing security, don't forget to include it. But don't ruin your new easy living image by focusing on the bad things that can happen. Focus on the peace of mind that comes with the whole system. Another easy way to build your image online is to start blogging if you are not already. I'm sure most of you are. If you're like most businesses, you have a blog that you might post to once or twice a month. And I agree, blogging can be very time-consuming, and there are a million other things that need to get done. But the good news is that blogging to reinforce a lifestyle image can actually be fun. You can focus on some of the lighter topics, talking about general safety and security, because that's what we're good at, and break it up with some posts about the wonders of home convenience and the newest technologies. Make it fun and interesting to read. Talk about your experiences with the product and the ways you found it makes life easier. And soon you're going to build credibility as an expert in the field, and people will come to value your opinion. And another great way, which is related to your blog to enhance your image, is to use content marketing. Offer yourself as an expert online, and you'll not only improve your SEO and search rankings, but people will start to think of you as an expert. Content marketing can be done on your blog, but you can also look at using other external services like Yahoo and eZine. This is something that big corporations have done for years. And content marketing doesn't always directly involve talking about the things that you sell, but you're positioning yourself as a lifestyle expert. And when you do, people are going to come to you when they're looking for the lifestyle services. So talk about the things that your customers are interested in. For example, craft. They talk about cooking and recipes with their content marketing. And while they use their products and the recipes when they can, it's not the focus of the article. So don't think that you have to talk about your products and services. In fact, if that's all you talk about, people are going to get bored and they're going to stop paying attention to you. The best content marketing talks about things that are related to what you're selling, but it isn't a sales pitch. And now you can move on to your printed material. Again, you can have a little more fun with this than you probably could before. Don't be afraid to lighten up. Remember, this is supposed to make people's lives easier, and you're going to want to showcase that. Show off how easy it is to use and how easy it'll make your life. Here at Select Security, we printed some postcards that were pretty successful, and we used the tagline, "Finally, the first security system that looks good enough to hang in your living room." If you focus on the look, feel, and convenience of these new security lifestyle hybrid systems, it allows the customer to look past the essential security aspect and see the real convenience and benefits. And it's things like this that give the customer the opportunity to think about security and you in a whole new light. Also, you'll want to think about where you're placing your advertising. And this may sound obvious, but lifestyle ads work great in lifestyle magazines. If you choose a magazine or a venue that has a lifestyle image similar to what you want your image to be, not only will your ad resonate with the readers of the magazine, but you'll get to piggyback on their image and reputation. And think beyond traditional advertising. Last year, here at Select Security, we sponsored an arts event in the city that drew a lot of younger iPhone-using customers. They're the prime targets for the lifestyle services. And it was really the launching pad for our new image, and it worked great. We had a giant inflatable security system panel made, and people went crazy. It was 7 feet tall and 9 feet wide, so of course it drew lots of attention. But what was interesting to see was the number of people that would walk up and start to press the buttons. Even though the buttons were obviously printed on and didn't do anything, they got very interactive with it, which is what lifestyle services is all about. We also, at the event, had plenty of printed material that reflected our new image, along with lots of smartphones and tablets to demonstrate how you could use it. And my point is, this was an unusual place for us to advertise, but it drew attention to the fact that we are now more than just a security company. And if you look for opportunities like this in your area, I guarantee you're going to be surprised by the cumulative effect that it can have on your brand and image. And don't forget about all the extra marketing opportunities that you can use to really hammer home your new image. When you can, come up with a common theme for your business cards, vehicle wraps, letterhead, your website, and any other incidentals so they work together to enforce your theme. And if you're looking for some free advertising, you can burnish your image as a safety and lifestyle services expert by offering your knowledge and experience to the local media. They're always looking for someone who can teach their viewers how to improve their lives, so think about what it is that you can offer. For example, summertime, like right now, is the perfect time to talk about how people can enjoy themselves in a safe manner. Here we've done a couple segments with the local TV station talking about how you can secure your home and home safety, and the conversation just naturally led towards the new home automation features. And can you guess which part of the segment people remembered the most? They absolutely loved the part where we showed the remote automation and access. So now, in addition to being recognized as an expert in safety and security, We've also left their viewers with the impression that we are a high-tech company and we're involved in more home convenience types of things. And the best part was it was free. So now that we've covered the marketing aspect, Gareth would like to take over and talk to you about how you can train your salespeople to sell these services in a way that best reflects and benefits your new image.
Thank you, Joe. So, the second piece of the puzzle here is understanding. Let me get the slideshow started here. There we go. So the second piece of the puzzle is understanding why your sales strategy has to change. So you've gone out, you've adapted your marketing message and positioned yourself with your prospects as a company that provides lifestyle services. So, what do you do differently now when you get your salesperson in front of the customer? What are you doing differently than you're doing right now? I've escorted sales organizations in 2 different companies through this transition in the past couple of years, and the challenges faced were nearly identical, even though the sales strategies were completely different between the 2 organizations. So I've boiled my findings into 3 simple steps that may help you overcome these hurdles with minimal pain, and we'll go through those here. So the first one is changing the mindset of you and your sales force to understand why it's got to change. So advanced services like home automation, energy management are changing home security like the iPhone changed the mobile phone industry. So most of you on the call probably have a smartphone. It's either an iPhone, maybe it's a Droid. Regardless, I'll bet that no one on the call asked the salesperson at Best Buy or wherever you bought it how good the call clarity was. People don't ask or even care when they're buying a new smartphone about the call clarity. So simply put, trying to sell a system with advanced interactive services as a security alarm is like trying to sell an iPhone as a device that simply makes telephone calls. It just doesn't work, and your customer's not going to see the value in paying that premium for something that they're used to paying less for. So Joe did a great job of really talking about the big competitors who are starting to move into our space. So communication giants like Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, as well as equipment manufacturers, they're already marketing and branding their products and services as more than just security. So you may have already seen slogans out there like simply more than security, why settle for just home security, or home control and much more. So it's important to understand that these companies, they've been through these types of transitions before, and they understand the importance of getting out in front of it. If you think about Verizon and AT&T, they managed through that change when the mobile phone industry transformed into really a mobile data delivery and entertainment industry. And certainly Xfinity was able to change the cable industry from being a company that just provided video. Now they provide interactive TV, they provide internet to the home, broadband internet, services like on-demand, DVR, and they pioneered a lot of those technologies and really brought them mainstream. So once you've helped your sales team understand that change is necessary if they're going to be successful with their customers in talking about advanced services, you've got to prepare them to change their sales approach. For those of us that are traditional security dealers, many of us were probably taught and may still be teaching the traditional 6-step sales process. That process looks something like this. You position yourself and the company through rapport building. You sell the problem. Many of us were taught and may still be teaching to sell the different types of criminals, the fire detection and life safety issues, and to an extent we're selling and peddling fear. And that's, that's the way the industry was kind of built, and a lot of what was taught in the past several decades. The next step is presenting the solution, where you're building a system for the customer, asking for the sale, and gathering the referrals. So when you think about the difference between selling a traditional alarm and a system with interactive services, the big differences come in selling the problem and presenting the solution. Because inherently, the solutions that a system with interactive services solves are completely different than those solved by a traditional security alarm. So, traditional alarm dealers focus the sale on life safety and security problems. Things like life safety, crime prevention, fire detection, lights, locks, thermostats. So, the problem is that a life safety and security system only solves a finite number of problems for the customer. The typical solution to a security concern is a piece of equipment like a door sensor, a motion sensor, smoke sensor, etc. So pieces and parts are a commodity. To your customer, a door contact is a door contact. They don't care who makes it or how it works. All of your competitors are selling the same thing and are likely going to present it in the exact same way, solving the exact same problem for a customer. So that inevitably leads to competing on price, which is rarely a win for anybody. So home control systems with advanced services solve more customized problems and are capable of solving numerous problems, things like time savings, convenience, energy savings. The key is to identify the specific benefit that your customer sees value in, like knowing when their kids are home from school, knowing your elderly parent has taken their medication, things like that. The difference is those needs have to be addressed through a conversation rather than a sales-based presentation. So, a lot of us may have our sales teams armed with flip charts or sales binders full of information, and we've given them a process to go through A to Z, and it's kind of a song and dance. But because the solutions that are provided by advanced services are so customized, you can't really address those through a traditional sales presentation. It's got to be a collaborative effort and more of a conversation and less of a sales presentation. So the most effective organizations have already figured it out, that selling advanced services is about assisting the customer through the discovery process rather than trying to tell them what their problems are. So how do you lead the customer through that discovery process? One of the biggest challenges that I see salespeople face when they try to make the transition from selling alarm to selling advanced services is that they like to offer one-size-fits-all benefits. That frankly, if you're not sure that the prospect's going to value that benefit, it can really be a detriment if you present it. So, for instance, I had a gentleman on the sales team who was just so impressed and thought very highly of the feature where a customer could log in on the web portal and change their user code without having to have the alarm company send out a technician, billable service time. He just thought that was the greatest benefit to a customer. So every sales presentation he went on, he talked about the benefits of having that feature, and he thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. The problem is, if the customer does not see value in that benefit, then you're really just trying to force that benefit on them, and many times it'll turn the customer off. So you really got to be careful taking the blanket approach or the one-size-fits-all approach with the benefits. You've got to go through a discovery process to find out which features are going to benefit that customer. So you have to ask more exploratory questions about the prospect's lifestyle to learn what you can help them solve. So typically we're asking questions about, well, how would you break into your house if you were a criminal? Or what are the weakest areas in your opinion? Show me the windows, show me the doors. we need to change that to start asking questions that are a little softer in nature. So tell me a little bit about your monthly energy bill. How often do you travel overnight? How much time do your children spend home alone? Who's the one that likes to run the AC all night? So these questions help the salesperson gather data that allow them to present customized solutions. And when you can provide a customized solution that your competitor can't, you gain a distinct competitive advantage. So you're really leading the customer to the water. You're helping them walk through this process so that they can discover the benefit of these features themselves. Another great thing to teach your sales force is to, hey, speak in stories. So once you've gathered the lifestyle data and you talk to the customer about the benefits in the terms that they'll use them. If they want to know that their daughter is going to get home for school, use the daughter's name. Say, hey, wouldn't it be great for you to get a picture when Lauren comes home from school on your cell phone so that you know she's home safely. Speak in stories and even reference stories from existing customers that you have that may have discovered a customized benefit that is relevant to your customer that you're in front of as well. But you have to be careful because there's got to be a balance between life safety and lifestyle, because ultimately we've all positioned and branded ourselves as security experts, and likely that's part of the reason we're in front of that customer to begin with. So just as your iPhone will make telephone calls, of course it's a phone. It's an iPhone. And a system with advanced services is still a security system. That is the backbone it's built on. So you've got to make sure you have a nice balance between life safety conversation and lifestyle conversation. The third step is making sure that you're using technology to sell new technology. You know, tablets, laptops, mobile phones, most of us cannot ignore our digital devices for more than a few minutes anyway, so use this to your advantage with a customer. It can be very challenging to sell the benefits of advanced services using a sales binder or a flip chart or just by speaking to the customer. So take advantage of devices like tablets and cell phones to really take a teach me versus tell me approach with the customer. It allows the customer or the sale to be more collaborative between salesperson and customer, and it really helps them start to take ownership when they start using the demos. So many equipment manufacturers have already created apps for your sales force to use. They could be the service providers. They could be made by the equipment manufacturers that are actually, they have replaced the old demo systems where people are carrying around the actual equipment. Now you can demo all of that from a tablet device or a smartphone, and you know, it's amazing how it helps customers understand how easy these systems are to use. So the early adopters and tech types are easy to sell to because they understand the technology, they get excited about it. However, the true value really lies in the mass market with baby boomers, and they may be a little technology averse. So a hands-on demonstration builds confidence in their ability to operate the system and can really help your sales team gain an advantage over your competition if you can convey and really show the customer, here's how you'll use it, here's how it will benefit you, and just look how easy it is to use. So, in review, 3 easy steps. Change the mindset of your sales team. Make sure they understand that it is going to be different, selling an advanced service rather than just selling a traditional alarm. And you've got to actually change the sales approach and arm your sales team with the tools to really demo and explain these systems. And you've got to communicate to them that it's not, when it comes to the sales presentation, change is not optional. It is absolutely required to succeed. And you know, if you just put a little effort into it, I think Joe did a great job of really explaining that, hey, You have to position yourself differently with the customer from a marketing perspective. If you take it the next step further and really take the time to change the mindset and behaviors of your sales team, you'll find that these advanced services will reduce your attrition, increase your average recurring, increase your average system selling price, and give your customers benefits that they truly enjoy and take advantage of. So I guess at this point, we're going to open it up for questions. Again, I'll encourage you guys to utilize the chat window. Joe, there has been one question submitted for you. It says, what about commercial customers? Could it harm that side of my business if we start changing our image to a lifestyle services company?
That's a good question, but the answer is not really. You know, this is something that the bigger companies do. If you think about it, you've probably got two images right now, one for your residential, one for your commercial, but they're so closely related, they're so involved in security that you don't know there's a difference. You already have a different conversation with your residential customers than you do with your big commercial ones, and you'll continue to have those separate conversations. You just have to make sure you keep them separate. So it might be a good idea on your website to have two separate sections, one for each market, so you can get the appropriate message across. And you'll probably want to remind your employees of the difference in talking between the two markets, and you should be fine.
Okay, another question addresses recruiting and whether or not traditional salespeople are truly going to succeed selling advanced services. And I think it is the question is absolutely yes. Traditional sales folks can succeed with some effort. As it pertains to recruiting, I think there is a little different profile of a person that would succeed selling advanced services rather than traditional security. I personally have found that some that younger folks that really get excited about technology seem to be very successful selling advanced services. But on a whole, anybody that's been selling security for a long time will have a tougher transition in making the leap from traditional security to advanced.
Although, Garrett, if I could say something, one thing that I've noticed is, at least with the people that I deal with here, some of the most enthusiastic salespeople are the ones who've been here the longest selling the traditional stuff, because they don't take it for granted, the great stuff that technology can do. It's more of a surprise to them. Younger people, they kind of assume it should be like that. But when you get that kind of energy with the traditional people, it's kind of fun to watch.
Agreed. Okay. Apparently there are no more questions, and if there are no more, I'd like to first remind everybody that you can get more great information like this on the sales and marketing track for ESX 2012 in Nashville. We certainly look forward to seeing everyone there. Again, I'd like to thank you, Joe, for joining us, and thanks everybody for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great day.